He found out I cheated and just vanished. Now I'm losing my mind and everyone thinks I deserve it. I'm Raven, 26, and my life just imploded in the most surreal way possible. I'd been with Nicholas for 4 years, lived together for 2, and everything seemed fine until last month. I spent the day with my family, just a normal Saturday catching up with my mom and sister. When I got home that evening, I immediately felt something was off. The apartment was too quiet, too neat. I called out for Nicholas, but no answer. I walked into our bedroom and froze. His side of the closet was empty. The drawer where he kept his watches and cologne, cleared out. The bathroom cabinet half empty. It was like someone had surgically removed every trace of him while I was gone for the day. No note. Nothing. Just gone. I immediately called his phone. Straight to voicemail. Texted him, no delivery receipt. Checked Instagram to see if he'd posted anything, and discovered I was blocked. Same on Facebook, Snapchat, everything. It was like I'd been erased from his digital life in an instant. I started panicking, calling our friends, asking if they'd heard from him. Nobody knew anything, or at least that's what they claimed. The weirdest part was how he divided our stuff. We'd bought furniture together, kitchen appliances, all the things couples accumulate. But he only took what was undeniably his. The coffee maker he'd brought into the relationship, gone. The couch we'd picked out together at IKEA, still there. It was so calculated. So final. By the 3rd day, our mutual friends started reaching out, asking what happened. That's when the questions started. Did something happen between you two? Did you have a fight? I told them I had absolutely no idea, that everything had been completely normal. But that wasn't exactly true. I couldn't sleep, couldn't eat. I started having these intense panic attacks. 1 week in, I was at my breaking point. I'd left probably 50 voicemails, sent hundreds of texts. Even tried to reach his parents who just said, Nicholas is fine, but he doesn't want to speak with you. It wasn't until Tasha, my supposed friend, came over with that look, you know, that pitying but slightly judgmental look, and asked in this careful voice, Raven, is there anything you need to tell me? Anything that might explain why Nicholas left? The way she asked it, I knew. Somehow he knew about Julian. But how? I'd been so careful. At least I thought I had. I maintained my innocent act, of course. What are you talking about? Everything was perfect between us, I said, my voice cracking as fresh tears came. And they were real tears, real panic, because my carefully constructed world was crumbling and I was losing control of the narrative. The truth is, things with Nicholas hadn't been perfect for a while. He'd been working longer hours, climbing the ladder, always tired when he got home. We stopped talking about anything meaningful. Sex became routine when it happened at all. I felt invisible. Taken for granted. Then Julian started at my office 2 months ago. He noticed me in ways Nicholas hadn't in years. Complimented my ideas in meetings, asked about my day, and actually listened to the answer. One happy hour led to drinks alone, which led to his apartment. I told myself it was just physical, just once, something I needed to feel alive again. But it wasn't just once. For 8 weeks, I'd been living a double life. Texting Julian during work hours, making up girls' nights to see him. Coming home to Nicholas with the scent of another man's cologne washed away in a gym shower. The thrill of it was intoxicating. Having this secret that was just mine, feeling desired again. Looking back, there were signs Nicholas suspected something. Questions about why I was working late so often. The way he checked my phone when I left it unlocked. How he started suggesting weekend trips, date nights, as if trying to reconnect. I dismissed his concerns. Made him feel paranoid for asking. Don't you trust me? I'd say, watching him back down, guilt written across his face for even questioning me. 3 days before he disappeared, I'd forgotten to log out of my email on our shared laptop. Julian had sent details about a hotel he'd booked for us. Not the first time, but definitely the most explicit message. I remembered feeling a flicker of panic when I couldn't find my phone that evening. Now I realized Nicholas hadn't been acting normal. He'd been planning. While I was carelessly conducting my affair, he was methodically organizing his exit. He's the villain here, I whispered to my empty apartment, trying to convince myself. Who leaves without a conversation, without a chance to explain or apologize? I deserved at least a fight, tears, accusations, something to give me the opportunity to beg forgiveness, to promise it would never happen again. His silence was so much worse than anger could ever be. 2 weeks after he vanished, Tasha called, her voice strange, distant. Nicholas reached out to me, she said. He wanted me to check on you. Make sure you're okay. What? Where is he? Did he say anything about why he left? My heart raced. A pause. Raven, he knows about Julian. He has proof. He showed me the messages. My stomach dropped. What are you talking about? Don't, she said, her voice hardening. Just don't. He has screenshots, hotel receipts. He even followed you one night. He saw you with him. I hung up and threw my phone across the room. The worst part wasn't that Nicholas knew the truth. It was that now others were beginning to know it too. 3 weeks in, everything was falling apart. After Tasha's revelation, the floodgates opened. Nicholas had apparently sent evidence of my affair to several of our closest friends. Not publicly, not vindicatively, just privately, sharing why he'd left so suddenly. One by one, my support system crumbled. I can't believe you made us worry about you when you were the one cheating, Lila texted before blocking me. Nicholas is heartbroken. How could you do this to him? To us? We trusted you. Even people who didn't know the specifics started acting differently around me. Whispers followed me at work. Julian began taking his lunch at different times, avoiding eye contact in meetings. The affair had fizzled almost immediately after Nicholas left. Julian got spooked by my emotional situation, as he called it. Men are such cowards when things get complicated. I tried changing the narrative. It wasn't what it looked like, I told anyone who would still listen. Nicholas and I were practically broken up already. He was emotionally unavailable for months. I even tried, it was just a mistake, one time, and he's overreacting. Who disappears after 4 years over one mistake? Some people, mostly acquaintances who didn't know Nicholas well, seemed willing to give me the benefit of the doubt. But those closest to us, they knew better. They'd seen us together. They knew Nicholas wasn't some emotionally distant workaholic. You know what your problem is? My sister finally snapped after listening to me spin the same excuses for the 5th time. You can't stand that he didn't give you the satisfaction of seeing him broken. He just opted out, and it's driving you crazy. She was right, though I'd never admit it to her. The fact that he hadn't fought for me, hadn't begged to know why, hadn't given me the chance to manipulate the situation, it was infuriating. I had prepared so many excuses, justifications, even tears. All wasted on an empty apartment. I became obsessed with tracking him down. I needed to find him. Needed to talk to him face to face, where my tears and our history might still hold some power. If I could just see him, touch him, remind him of what we had before everything went wrong, maybe I could fix this. Not because I wanted him back, at this point, I wasn't even sure I did, but because I couldn't stand being the one left behind, the one everyone blamed. 2 months after Nicholas vanished, I got my break. A casual scroll through a mutual friend's Instagram stories revealed a location tag. A new coffee shop across town. And there in the background of a group photo, barely visible but unmistakable, Nicholas sitting at a corner table, laptop open. Looking fine. He looked fine. Not devastated, not hollowed and broken. Just normal. Something snapped inside me. While I'd been falling apart, missing work, alienating friends, having panic attacks on my bathroom floor, he'd been moving on. The unfairness of it all was staggering. I didn't plan what happened next. I just found myself driving to that coffee shop the following morning, arriving at 8:15. Nicholas was always ritualistic about his morning coffee. I parked across the street and waited, heart hammering. At 8:20, he appeared, walking up the street in his charcoal pea coat. He looked good. Rested, calm, purposeful. I watched him order at the counter, exchange a familiar smile with the barista. How often had he been coming here? Then he settled at a table near the window. Before I could talk myself out of it, I was crossing the street, pushing open the door, walking toward him. He didn't notice me until I was standing right at his table, casting a shadow across his open laptop. Raven. Just my name, spoken flatly. No surprise, no emotion. As if he'd been expecting this moment. You just left. My voice sounded strange, strangled. No explanation, no fight, nothing. For years and you just disappeared. Sit down, he said quietly, glancing around at the other customers who were beginning to stare. You're making a scene. I sat. You know why I left, he said, his voice low but steady. You know exactly why. You could have talked to me. Given me a chance to explain. Explain what? For the first time, a flash of anger broke through his careful composure. How you lied to my face for months. How you were sleeping with your coworker while I was planning our future. It wasn't what you think, I said, falling back on the defenses I'd been rehearsing. Things between us weren't good. You were always working, always distracted. Stop. He held up his hand. I'm not doing this. I'm not sitting here listening to you rewrite our relationship to justify your choices. Then why did you ask Tasha to check on me? Why do you care if I'm holding up all right? I threw his words back at him, searching for any crack in his armor. Because I'm not cruel, he said simply. I didn't want you spiraling. But that doesn't mean I owe you a conversation about this. You owe me closure. My voice rose again, causing more heads to turn. Nicholas's eyes hardened. I don't owe you anything anymore. You ended our relationship the moment you decided to cheat. I just made it official. The barista approached, concern on her face. Everything okay here? It's fine, Diane, Nicholas said. He knew her name. Of course he did. I was just leaving. He stood, gathering his things with maddening calm. No. I grabbed his arm. You don't get to walk away again. I need. Ma'am, the barista interrupted, I'm going to have to ask you to lower your voice or leave. Nicholas gently removed my hand from his arm. What you need isn't something I can give you anymore, Raven. Where are you living? I demanded, desperation making me reckless. Are you seeing someone new already? Is that it? He sighed, looking genuinely tired now. This is exactly why I left the way I did. I knew any conversation would just be you trying to control the situation. Make yourself the victim. Find ways to blame me. I'm done with that dynamic. Sir, the barista said to Nicholas, do you need me to call someone? No need, he said, sliding his laptop into his bag. To me, he added quietly, don't come looking for me again, Raven. It's over. Let both of us move on. As he walked toward the door, I called after him. So that's it? For years ends like this? He paused, turned slightly. No. It ended 2 months ago. This is just you refusing to accept it. 6 months after Nicholas disappeared from my life, I sat in my new apartment, smaller and in a less desirable neighborhood than the one we'd shared. I'd kept my job, barely, though the promotion I'd been in line for went to someone else. Julian, ironically, avoided eye contact in the hallways now. Some friends had tentatively reconnected after my public pursuit of Nicholas stopped, though our relationships remained strained. You seem better, my sister said over coffee that morning, though her eyes held a question. I am, I replied automatically. The lie came easily after so many months of practice. Good. She hesitated. Then, have you heard about Nicholas? My heart stuttered painfully. Should I have? He's engaged. To Olivia, the woman he's been seeing. It was on Instagram last night. The coffee turned to acid in my stomach. 6 months. 6 months from discovering my affair to proposing to someone new. At home, I broke my 6-week streak of not looking him up online. There it was. The announcement, the ring, the glowing comments from friends. Our friends, congratulating him on finding someone who deserves you, celebrating their perfect match. One comment from Tasha stuck out painfully. So happy you found your person after everything. You deserve this happiness more than anyone. I scrolled through photos of them together. Hiking, at parties, cooking in what must be his kitchen. She fit seamlessly into the life that was supposed to be mine. In each picture, Nicholas looked relaxed, genuinely happy in a way I couldn't remember seeing in our later years together. The most painful realization wasn't that he'd moved on. It was that he seemed better off without me. Happier, more himself. While I was still stuck in the wreckage of what we'd been, he'd somehow emerged stronger, finding someone who apparently made him happier than I ever had. My phone pinged with a notification, a group message from Lila to several old friends, including me, probably by accident. She was organizing Nicholas and Olivia's engagement party. 3 glasses of wine later, the idea had metamorphosed from unthinkable to inevitable. I would go. Not to cause a scene, I told myself. Just to see them together with my own eyes. To understand what she had that I didn't. To get the closure Nicholas had denied me. The night of the party, I spent hours getting ready. New dress, professional makeup, hair styled perfectly. I arrived fashionably late, riding the elevator to the rooftop with a hammering heart. The hostess smiled as I approached. Name? Raven Mitchell, I said confidently. I'm with the engagement celebration. She checked her tablet, smile faltering. I'm sorry, I don't see your name on the list. Raven, what are you doing here? I turned to find Lila staring at me, champagne glass in hand, confusion giving way to alarm. I got the invitation, I said, gesturing vaguely at my phone. The group message. Her face fell. That was sent to you by mistake. You know you're not supposed to be here. More heads were turning now. And then through the crowd, I saw him. Nicholas, handsome in a navy suit, arm around a woman in a white dress who had to be Olivia. Our eyes met across the rooftop. His smile vanished. His body tensed, instinctively pulling Olivia closer, a protective gesture that spoke volumes about how he now saw me. As a threat. The hostess was speaking into her earpiece now. Security to the rooftop, please. Raven, you need to leave, Lila said, gently but firmly taking my arm. This isn't about you. It hasn't been about you for a long time. Security arrived. 2 men in dark suits. Ma'am, we need you to come with us. I'm leaving, I said, snatching my purse. Tell Nicholas congratulations from me. Tell him I hope she makes him happier than I apparently did. And tell him that real love doesn't just disappear overnight, no matter what pretty replacement you find. As security escorted me to the elevator, I caught one last glimpse of the party. Nicholas was speaking urgently to Olivia, who looked concerned but not angry. Their friends had gathered protectively around them, shielding the happy couple from the crazy ex's intrusion. In that moment, the truth I'd been avoiding for months finally crystallized. I was the villain in their story. The obstacle they'd overcome. The cautionary tale they'd tell at dinner parties years from now. Eventually, I checked my phone. 3 missed calls from my sister. 2 texts. Please tell me you didn't go to that party. Followed by call me ASAP. A message from an unknown number. This is Olivia. We need to talk. My heart stopped. Olivia, Nicholas's fiancée, had my number. My thumbs hovered over the screen. I finally typed, when and where. The response came quickly. Tomorrow, 2 p.m. Riverfront Coffee on Main. The next day, I arrived 20 minutes early, choosing a corner table with a view of the door. At exactly 2, she walked in. I recognized her immediately from the photos, though she looked different in person. Taller than I'd imagined, with a quiet confidence in the way she carried herself. No visible engagement ring, she'd tucked it away for this meeting. Raven, she said, sitting down across from me. Thank you for coming. Did Nicholas send you? I asked immediately. No, she wrapped her hands around her mug. He doesn't know I'm here, and I'd prefer to keep it that way. Then why? I wanted to see you for myself, she said simply. To understand. Understand what? The woman who haunts him. Her bluntness caught me off guard. Even after everything, even with us engaged, there's this shadow. I can feel it sometimes when certain songs play. When we drive past your old neighborhood. Something like triumph flickered in my chest. So I wasn't completely erased after all. I still existed somewhere in his mind. Can I ask you something? She leaned forward slightly. Why did you cheat on him? The directness of the question stunned me. No one had asked it so plainly. It's complicated, I stammered. I'm sure it is, she agreed. Most important things are. We grew apart, I said finally, falling back on the easiest explanation. He was working all the time. I felt neglected. It just happened. She nodded, considering this. And was it worth it? The affair? Obviously not, I snapped. Look at my life now. That's not what I asked, she said gently. I mean, in the moment when you were deciding to cross that line, did you think it would be worth whatever consequences might come? I didn't think there would be consequences, I admitted in a small voice. I never thought he'd find out. And if he did, I trailed off, realizing how selfish it sounded. You thought he'd forgive you? She finished for me. Fight for you, not walk away. I nodded, throat tight. That's what I needed to understand, she said, almost to herself. You never really knew him at all, did you? The words struck like a physical blow. I was with him for 4 years. Of course I knew him. The Nicholas the First No would never stay with someone who betrayed him, she said with quiet certainty. Not because he's unforgiving, but because trust means everything to him. Once it's broken, it's broken. He doesn't do second chances with trust. We could have worked through it, I insisted, if he just talked to me instead of disappearing. That's what I'm trying to tell you, she interrupted. For him, there was nothing to work through. No conversation that needed to happen. Once you betrayed his trust, it was over. The Nicholas who loved you ceased to exist in that moment. How many times had Nicholas told me, in different ways, that trust was his non-negotiable? How many stories had he shared about his parents' toxic marriage built on lies and second chances that never fixed the fundamental break? How had I missed that this was his line in the sand? Why are you telling me this? I asked, voice barely above a whisper. Because you're still waiting for a different ending, she said. Still convinced there's unfinished business between you. And as long as you believe that, you can't move forward. Neither can he completely. Neither can I. Is that what this is? I gestured between us. You helping me move on so your relationship can be shadow-free? She considered this. Partly, yes. I won't pretend this is purely altruistic. But also, she paused, choosing her words carefully. I know what it's like to be stuck in the aftermath of choices you can't take back. I should go, she said, gathering her things. Nicholas will be wondering where I am. As she turned to leave, a final question burst from me. Are you happy together? I mean, really? She paused, then looked back with a small, genuine smile. Yes, we are. And someday, Raven, I hope you find what makes you happy too. But you won't find it looking backward. For the first time since he'd vanished from my life, I truly understood. There had never been a chance for reconciliation. No possible combination of words or tears or promises that could have changed the outcome. The moment I betrayed his trust, it was over. I just hadn't known it yet. The realization didn't bring peace exactly, but it brought something adjacent to it, a clarity that had been missing these long, painful months. The story had ended. Not in the way I'd wanted or expected, but it had ended nonetheless. And I'd been the one who ended it, with choices I couldn't unmake. I pulled out my phone and texted my sister. Can I come over? I think I'm finally ready to talk. Really talk. Her response came immediately. Always. Doors open. I put my phone away and began walking, not looking back. Nicholas was gone. The life we'd planned was gone. The woman I thought I was, the good person, the victim, was gone too. All that remained was who I might become next. In the aftermath of my choices. Whether I'd learn from them or repeat them. Whether I'd continue blaming everyone else for my unhappiness or finally take responsibility for creating my own. The path forward looked lonely and uncertain. But for the first time in 6 months, at least it looked forward. Not back at what I'd lost, but ahead to what I might still find if I was brave enough to face myself honestly at last. Maybe that was the only closure I was ever going to get. Maybe it was the only closure I deserved.